Quando abbiamo dato il gami, I think I remember ሌላ Zoom session ነበረ ሌላ presentation coaching we were supposed to start the session at exactly 3:30, but it is now 3:20. It's almost 3:15. So what we do is in the next 1 hour, as previously, we'll start with we'll listen to 2 presentations, 2 research papers. Each will have 15 minutes for presentation, and we'll have another 30 minutes for discussion. And after that, if this whole editing works out, we'll be hearing a presentation through Zoom as well. All right? So I'm going to call upon the 2 speakers on 2 important topics. So the first presentation that we'll be hearing is by Mahari. He's from Gondar University. He's an assistant professor. He will be speaking on comparing the impact of genotype-based diagnostic algorithm on time in the treatment initiation and treatment outcomes among drug-resistant tuberculosis. Mahari, up the podium, please. Our second speaker will be Valdan. He's again an assistant professor and a PhD candidate. He's working at Jimma University now. He will be presenting his paper on effectiveness of phone-based communication and follow-up in increasing the uptake of maternal health services. It's a peer cluster randomized control trial. So we'll be hearing 2 interesting papers, and your attention, please. So each will present one by one. I'm going to give you signs when to stop.
Okay, thank you so much. So it is my great pleasure to be a presenter at the second international conference organized by Addis Ababa Medical and Business College. And I will be presenting just the time dimension from first care seeking behavior to treatment to start, diagnosis, and from diagnosis to treatment by comparing these time dimensions with respect to treatment initiation or commencement and treatment outcome. And as a presentation outline, I do have these outlines. Just as introduction, the drug-resistant tuberculosis or MDR-TB continues to be one of the critical public health challenge nowadays, and different initiatives have been made, including the End TB strategy by 2030. And for this, early detection and notification, and again, commencement of treatment will be paramount importance. And the role of rapid, accurate, and sensitive diagnostic tools or algorithms is indispensable to accelerate the TB control program. And again, improving the detection time and diagnosis modalities was a game changer to the control and prevention of drug resistance tuberculosis as evidenced by different literatures. Again, patients who were diagnosed with the June expert MTF had shown better treatment success and shorter time of anti-TB treatment initiation as compared to the different algorithms, including the LPA and culture-based diagnostic algorithms. But there are evidence limitations in the time difference and its effect on treatment outcome among the drug-resistant tuberculosis patients in our country. And thus, this article is aimed to compare the different DRTB diagnostic algorithms with respect to the time dimensions, and again to evaluate the treatment outcome as related to the diagnostic modalities. So the objective was to compare the impact of the molecular, LPA, and culture-based diagnostic modalities on time to diagnosis, treatment initiation, and treatment outcomes as well. Here is the methodology or the method, just sampling and some studies related. We included all patients enrolled on anti-TB treatment from 2010 to 2017, and for hospitals in Amara region, including the University of Gondar Comprehensive Specialized Hospital, Debre Marcos Referral Hospital, Waldia, and Borumeda hospitals. And the data source was the patient's medical record, medical charts, and sometimes we have been using the TB registration book for some variables. And as a data management and analysis, we do have hypothesis, which states that there is the null hypothesis status. There is a difference in terms of the time dimension from first seeking behavior to treatment start, and from diagnosis to treatment, and again from first seeking behavior to diagnosis. So the null hypothesis status, there is difference in terms of time dimension with respect to these three diagnostic modalities, including the expert, LPA, and culture. So the alternate hypothesis is just there is difference. There is difference. So to test this hypothesis, we have been in just an parametric test, which is called the Kruskal and Wallis test, brought by two statisticians in 1953 and 52. Just an alternative parametric test to the, non-parametric test to the parametric test of ANOVA. So it is to compare whenever there are more than two groups to be compared. In this case, the three diagnostic modalities, the LPA, culture, and the expert. So we test it, and we determine as 0.05 significant level. It is significancy. As exclusion criteria, we exclude the patients on treatment and transferred out because we don't know the treatment outcome. As one purpose was to evaluate these diagnostic modalities with treatment outcome. So result and discussion, just a median time. Median time, we have used data of 588 patients, but 14 patients were having diagnosed by clinically, and we exclude the clinical diagnosis patients. So we do have 574 patients and included in the analysis, and from this 381, 173, and 80 patients were diagnosed by expert, probe, LPA, and culture-based DSCTB. And the median time in days with the corresponding interquartile range was recorded to be this one. For expert, which is 2 days with into treatment again. So these three diagnostic algorithms, including the culture, LPA, and expert, they reported with the average time or the median time with interquartile range. And it's, as you are looking, there was short time range, I mean, the short median time for expert, 2 days, 3 days, and 4 days. Compared to the others, we do have a relatively shorter median time, and this was statistically significant at p-value less than 0.05 using the Kruskal-Walsh test. So the median time in all of the three time dimensions was significantly early in the expert and protracted in the solid culture-based diagnostic algorithm. And this has been in agreement with the different studies conducted so far. And the possible reason for this could be one, timing of laboratory result. That is, for expert, it was available within 2 hours. The result can be reported within 2 hours for an expert. And for LPA, it was to be reported within 2 days. And for solid culture, it's estimated in weeks. And this could be one of the possible reasons for the delay or protracted median time in the case of the two algorithms, the culture and DSCT. And the other reason could be the need for high laboratory biosafety and the skilled personnel in solid culture and the LPA-based and DSCT methods. Whereas in expert, it is easy and to do the diagnostic assay, and this could be one of the reasons. And the other could be the availability of on-site diagnostic tests from the study settings. Hence, the implementation of rapid DRTV diagnosis like expert was capable of early case finding, facilitates the fulfillment of treatment outcomes, and thereby to prevent the community spread of the disease and further compromisation of the quality of life patients could be minimized if we use the expert diagnostic modality. And the other is the impact of DRTV diagnosis matrix on treatment outcome, and we analyzed it and found that about 73% of patients had successful treatment outcome, but there was no statistically significant difference in terms of the treatment outcomes across the treatment modalities we compared. And this is indicated in this table, and it was not statistically significant with relation to the treatment outcome, but there has been a statistical significant finding with respect to the median time in terms of the diagnosis and treatment start. And as conclusion and a recommendation, just the expert diagnostic modality can mitigate the transmission of DRTV significantly due to the quick diagnosis and treatment commencement. And this is followed by the LPA and then the culture. But we didn't see statistically significant impact of the treatment outcome across the treatment modalities, I mean the diagnostic modalities. And finally, the expert MTF can be used as the first test to diagnose DRTV by further complementing solid culture, DSCT, and to grasp drug sensitivity. So currently it's made serially, the expert culture, I mean for different purposes. For monitoring, we use culture, and for further drug resistance confirmation, we use the LPA, especially to detect the isoniazid resistance and other XDR resistance. But expert is important for R or rifampicin resistance. So serial application of the three diagnostic modalities is recommended or is good. So these are sample reference, and I acknowledge this studies. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. A round of applause to Mahari. Ivantal, please. You can come.
Okay, thank you very much. I think mine is the last face-to-face presentation. I hope may not be the least. As Dr. Solomon introduced, the title is Effectiveness of Phone-Based Communication and Follow-up in Increasing the Uptake of Maternal Health Services with the design of paired cluster randomized controlled trial. I will follow this outline. Broadly speaking, mobile health interventions are used to support health service delivery process in every setting, whether facilitation of the service delivery process. When we see the technological features of mobile cell or cell phone, it may have a text message, which is called SMS, voice call, data transfer, or mobile application, and etc. The most important feature of this mHealth is the communication is personalized and very interactive. However, access to communication and information is one of the essential components to improve health service uptake. But the design, the focus, and the approach matters to support our clients. According to EDHS, the common maternal health services are mainly antenatal care, delivery care, and postnatal care, which is called a continuum of maternal care. However, there are three main maternal delays that prevent access to those care. The first delay is not recognizing or seeking care. The second is not arrival at health facility, which is the physical unreachability. And the third one is not receiving a quality care at health facilities. Out of the three maternal delays, the first and the third are the main focus areas in urban settings, because the second delay may not be a worry in urban settings. As a justification of this study, as you know, the NEC uptake was nationally, regionally, as well as locally in every setting. From NEC 1 to NEC 4, the uptake is decreasing. The evidence shows this one. And also when you go from NEC to delivery care, institutional delivery service uptake, and also when you go to the next continuum of care, which is postnatal care, the dropout is high. The dropout is high. Whether you can compare nationally or regionally or locally, specifically in Jimma town, which is the studies conducted. So from this evidence, high dropout rate is a headache for the maternal health service uptake. Plus the delays, what I have discussed, also another headache. The other issue here is improved access, which means in urban setting, we think that there is an access, there's improved access is there, but reduced uptake, especially in government or public health facilities. This is a paradox. It's a paradox, or the question that leads everyone to ask this. The service delivery approach in public facilities or public institutions, the service delivery approach is too formal, as you know. It's not supportive of like a private, and not as fast as phone communication. In addition, no evidence is available with regard to the effect of tailored mHealth intervention in improving the maternal health care services. So what? We considered every pregnancy is at risk as a new approach of WHO. So alerting, reminding appointments, informing the services what they will receive in the next visit, and continuous follow-up should be in place, and testing its effectiveness is relevant in this study. Hence, our intervention focused at the first and the third delays. In the first, to improve the first delay, we focused on to improve their knowledge and attitude on three maternal cares: antenatal care, delivery care, and postnatal care. And also the other focus of the intervention was to improve the perceived quality of care or the satisfaction of mothers. That was the focus. Therefore, the objective of this intervention or trial study was to determine the effectiveness of phone-based communication and follow-up in improving knowledge, attitude, and the perceived quality of the care. And to determine its effectiveness in decreasing the dropout rate throughout the continuum of the maternal care. As a method and participants, this implementation trial was conducted in Health Center of Jimma Town from March 1 to October 30. And as you know, Jimma Town is one of the town administration in Oromia region, and it has 17 small administrative units, and has 4 health centers and 2 public hospitals, and also the total population of 210,000 population. The study design was experimental study design with paired cluster randomized control trial. Why and how we paired that, I will discuss how we paired that one, the randomization and the pairment section. But why this pairment is needed, because of to control the information contamination and to separate the control and intervention health facilities, so that contamination, cross-contamination of information can be controlled. And the enrollment was open, and the data collector landed. They don't know whether they are collecting the data from which group. And the source population was all pregnant women in Jimma Town, and the eligible pregnant women who came for NEC1 visit at respective health centers during the enrollment period were study population. And we do have the inclusion criteria, NEC1 visitors at less or equals to 16 weeks of gestational age, and the permanent resident in the study area. And we also have an exclusion criteria, NEC1 visitors out of the catchment area, which means out of the paired clusters with that respective health facilities were excluded because of to control the information contamination, and also those mother or women who have a pre-plan to go away from their living residential area for the next 9 months, and or to shift the firstly visited health center unless they refer were excluded. And the sample size was estimated using OpenEP info by feeding the necessary parameters, and finally the sample size was 220, and with 1-to-1 ratio allocation, 110 intervention and 110 for the control groups. The pairment and randomization, first we paired each health centers with their own catchment cabalas, as you can see here, and then simple randomization technique was applied by an independent researcher after creating the sequence for randomization. Then the eligible subjects or women were recruited in each health center until the proportionally allocated sample size reached in each of the study area. The trial flow is, just to say something here, at the beginning, we have assessed the 62 pregnant women who came for NEC1, whether they are eligible for the study. And we excluded 42 based on the exclusion criteria, and 220 were enrolled or allocated to the intervention and control group. And there are some lost to follow up in both groups. And finally, in intervention group, the 107 women were finished the follow-up, whereas 105 were finished their follow-up in the control group. The study variables were the primary outcome variable was the dropout rate, and the secondary outcome variables were knowledge, attitude, and perceived quality of the service or the care, and explanatory variables were socio-demographic and obstetric-related variables, and also the intervention variable, which is phone-based communication and follow-up. And we have also operationalized the main variables and how they are measured and analyzed. And also, just to say something on communication time and communication activities and the data collection period, the communication time was set as per the WHO guideline, that is 24 to 26 weeks of gestation for visit NC2, and also the subsequent 32 weeks, and also NC4 36 to 38 weeks, and also institutional delivery and postnatal care follows. So the baseline data was collected when they come at the 16 or less gestational weeks of gestational age, and we also collected the data in the follow-up using logbook, and finally the end-line data was collected after finished their follow-up. So the communication activities were reminder for their appointment and sending the danger signs of pregnancy and service information of service they will get in the next subsequent visit. So, and also there is also another communication about the birth preparedness and preparation text, and also those messages were designed for appropriate time. We analyzed the communication activities we did, and it was very nice as it was done. The communication intervention was done as per the protocol, or as per we planned, and we have also analyzed the communication encounters. And the method of data analysis was structured, interviewer administered, pre-tested, and translated questionnaire were used. Baseline and end-line data were used for assessing knowledge, attitude, and quality of care, so perceived quality of care. And logbook was used to capture the data about the different continuum of care, whether they came or not. And also we have a template to record the communication activities, how much activities were sent for them, and how much it was delivered, and how much they respond back. And the data were analyzed using the Spaces version 21, and descriptive statistics like proportion and mean were calculated and reported. And we used chi-square test for, or the Fisher exact test when it's not necessary to do chi-square, to see the effect estimation. And also we followed the intention to treat analysis, and also we have done the reliability test. All the ethical considerations or ethical aspects were considered for this study. Just to come to the results, the main result, at baseline, no significant difference observed in terms of age, as well as in terms of their socio-demographic and obstetric characteristics. And also the response rate was good, which is greater than 90%. When we come to the knowledge, at baseline, no significant difference was observed between intervention and control groups, but at end line, knowledge on danger sign was increased by almost 25% in the intervention group as compared to the control group, which is almost 2% increment. And also finally, when we see the overall knowledge score improvement, an intervention group, almost 43% increment was observed in intervention group, while almost 1% increment in control group. When we come to the attitude measurement, at baseline and end line, no significant difference observed in overall score of attitude. However, there was almost 5% increment in intervention group as compared to almost 2% increment in control groups. However, when you see in terms of items that used to measure attitude, the preference to give birth at health institution and comfortability of making delivery at health institutions at item level, the increment in intervention group was very satisfactory as compared to the control group. However, the overall score of the attitude was no difference between the groups. When you see the perceived quality of care, at baseline, after they received NEC1 visit, there was no difference in both groups. However, at the end line, there was significant difference on the overall score for perceived quality of care or satisfaction of mothers, which means a good perception towards the care significantly increased by almost 31% in intervention group, while almost 14% is observed in control group. When you see the uptake of maternal health service and fetal-maternal outcome, at baseline there was no difference, while in subsequent visits there were significant differences observed at NC2, 3, 4, institutional delivery service users, fetal outcome, PNEC1 and PNEC2 uptake, as well as referral services between the two groups. In this, the differences were more positive in intervention group, unlike the control groups. However, no difference observed in maternal outcome, main reasons for referral and number of maternal admissions between the two groups. And the net effect of the institutional delivery service uptake was 21%, in intervention groups as compared to the control group. When you see the dropout rate, there were serious decrement in dropout rate at each visit in intervention group as compared to the control group. The highest decrement was almost 40% at NEC3 as compared to the counterparts, and the least decrement was 16% at PNEC1 as compared to the control group. So when we see the rate difference here, almost it is there is a serious high decrement of dropout rate in intervention group as compared to the control group. There are some limitations. As a conclusion, the mobile phone communication and follow-up was effective in decreasing dropout rates throughout the continuum of care and in improving uptake of institutional delivery service by 21%, and also improves the fatal outcome, and also improved the knowledge and perceived quality of care. However, no significant difference observed in maternal outcome. This may be the nil number of days, maternal days recorded in both groups, 1 day in control and 0 days in intervention group. So the statistics may not appreciate the difference. And the overall attitude towards the maternal health care was not also differentiated or not bring a change on this. As a recommendation or policy implication, phone-based communication and follow-up with tailored message can be implemented at urban setting since it is feasible at health facility level. Just providing a phone or giving an application, automated application for health professionals so that they can install on their smartphone so that they can follow, they can seriously follow and communicate with their clients like a private sector. The second one is to decrease dropout rates. We have to work on their knowledge and the quality of care, and serious follow-up, reminder service, tailored SMS texts, which means a reminder, as well as a service information, and tracking who lost the follow-up is very important. And building responsive and updated care providers through phone consultation, because one of the intervention was arranging and facilitating on-call based consultation for those less trained birth attendants from the specialized physician. And thirdly, although the intervention was effective as compared to the counterparts, proportion of home delivery and NEC dropout rate in such urban setting need an attention. There is home delivery, about 8%, and also still this dropout is needs an attention, having a lot of recommendations we have. Thank you very much. We highly acknowledge the funding institution, International Institute for Primary Health Care, in collaboration with Johns Hopkins University in USA for financial and technical support, so other many stakeholders. And also lastly, I want to acknowledge or thank you Addis Ababa Business and Medical College for giving this chance. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that. So I'd like to invite all speakers to show up in front of the audience.
Thank you so much for interesting findings. I feel that both findings for sure could influence policy and improve practice in healthcare delivery. So Mahari has come up with a very essential finding, saying that the gene expert, which is one of the diagnostic modalities for particularly drug-resistant tuberculosis, is very powerful and effective in terms of diagnosing drug-resistant TB, which is important in early diagnosis and also early initiation of treatment. Yuval Tal has arrived at a conclusion that if we use our mobile phones to reach out to women and a follow-up for them to follow up for MC, there could be significant dropout for all of us. These are key findings for most presentations. So now this is time for your show that I mentioned earlier. You know, it doesn't matter which discipline that you come from, as long as you have anything that you would like to share, you're very, very welcome. So floor is open for question and comment. 1, 2, 3. I must move. 4. Thank you. 1 more. 5. Thank you. I think it's the same thing, and I was expecting some.
Their work in good amount, I appreciate that. And the methodological approach and the like. But I want to know the kind of knowing question. What is the difference between the talking book, which was highly applied in intervention in some part of African countries, and the MS approach that you applied, the first concern, and on content and dose of intervention and message or intervention, I want to know. For instance, you finding is highly impacted on the cognitive communities knowledge. What's failed to, I mean, I think the word is not appropriate, but has a literature on African that is accurate, right? So is there the issue of, is there the content that you refer to intervention is more focused on the cognitive domain? The other issue, I want to know the intervention on how you deliver the health approach through the message, or I think I want to, or for the mother, are you just distributing the same information regardless of their level of understanding? This is how I want to know, and I appreciate your thank you very much.
Number 2.
Okay, thank you. The first, I have one question for the first presenter. Gene expert is at the end of the recommendation, he says gene expert will recommend in order to have the TV. How do you see the visibility or the accessibility of the gene expert in terms of cost and availability? This one is the first one. The second one is interesting because HSTP is one of the ethical transformation plan, there is information revolution. So it's very interesting topic, but the question is, how do you communicate the matters? How do you communicate, how the way of communication in terms of the message? The second one, what was about the mothers who can read and write, how you manage them or you exclude them from the study? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. 3.
Thank you. My name is Rahman from Bahasa University, and I appreciate both the presenters. So my question is for Mahari, and you want to try to compare about the diagnostic algorithms with the two, even vis-a-vis time limitations and treatment outcome. And my main question is that you use cross-forward test, and you concluded the finding to all the general population. Since cross-forward test is a bivariate test, and you have no chance to adjust for the effect of other variables. For example, the treatment outcome might be affected by adherence to the TB drugs, the presence of chronic illness, different factors, HIV, age, and many things. And are you sure that your finding is serious? For me, you have to go to other multivariate tests, and otherwise, accepting the result of this non-parametric test is to the and I recommend you to shift to your topic to screening this rather than concluding these things. And adhering to the START guidelines might make your research really strong.
Thank you so much. Before,
Okay, thank you very much, both presenter for a nice presentation on a nice topic and having said. My question goes to the second presenter, Albert, it presented on effectiveness of phone-based communication and developing increasing uptake of mathematical service. And this is a nice study, even so, due to a network problem or all mothers may not have a mobile, or based on the educational status, all mothers may not equally understand what we provide for them. So this may affect the general ability of your finding. What do you think about your general ability of your state finding? So if this is so, to whom you are going to generalize? Thank you very much.
thank you. 5.
Okay, thank you very much for both presenters. I will have one question for the second presenter. This is an interesting study design, somewhat RCT. So, in general, RCT requires two types of population. That's intervention group and that of the comparison group. You have way classified them. But I do have one case, there may be a misclassification of the subjects because how do you know whether the text has been delivered or not? I need that clarification, maybe.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And last,
Thank you very much. Actually, it's already asked by someone. We know that in expert technique or molecular technique, data identifies anything. And once the diagnosis is known or correctly identified, and treatment, the appropriate treatment is given accordingly, the treatment outcome will be good. But my recommendation is it's better to assess other determinant factors or the good treatment outcome, as it was mentioned earlier, nutritional status, comorbidity states, adherence, and the type of regimen. Otherwise, you may not get new knowledge. So many, the information is already available in so many literatures. Thank you.
thank you so much, Yusuf. I think we've gathered very critical comments and inputs, as well as questions for clarification. So what we do is, if there are feedbacks, you don't have to respond to each statement. You respond to only the questions that require clarification. So you want to start? Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I will respond on the questions only. But before going to respond, I didn't capture the first concept. Just I captured the second and third. Okay, so just I missed the first. I didn't understand your concept.
Maybe I, in Kenya, some of the part of Africa, there is the kind of mobile communication professionals were recorded for the women in the COVID, so that they have different sessions. They hear the maternal continuum of care, and they will have sort of intervention. And my question is, what is the difference between the MN's approach and his approach? If you agree or not, please. If not, you can speak.
Okay, thank you. Now I got it. So as I've discussed to the first slide of my background, mobile health used to facilitate or to create a demand for health service delivery. And also this technology or cell phone technology has many features to support every sector for every purpose. So here, future of the cell text delivery, future of the technology is completely different. And some others may use this technology just only for voice calling only. But the important question is, which feature of this mobile phone used in our study? So two features are used. One is voice call and the other is SMS text. So two features were used here. So the other researchers in different contexts, in different countries may use it differently and for different purposes. When I come to the content and those of the intervention, the content of the intervention is based on the continuum of care, which means the mother already came for NEC1 with high or a good turnout, but the question of this study is there is high dropout. So to decrease the high dropout rate, what should be the content of the information or the follow-up or the SMS text is that based on the important things that they should know is the continuum of care. For example, for the second visit, we sent danger sign of pregnancy just after they go back after visiting for NC1. We send immediately there are 8 danger signs of pregnancy. They have to know it in short with words and phrases. And also for the second visit, we send a reminder before 2 to 3 days before a reminder. That's another content of our intervention. The other is, in shortly, the information was given about the services the mother will receive when she comes for that visit. For example, dear, my client, when you come for the next second visit, you will receive this service. It's a very short way. So, and then for 3 and 4 is the same. Whereas, when the mother goes to the 36 and about 36 weeks of gestation, now our formation or the communication changed into texting, birth preparedness and readiness plan. What should be ready? What should bring when the labor comes? So that's the short term. And also, we also give another information. When she comes for delivery at health institution, she will receive shortly 8 services. This is services. While she gave birth at her home, she may not get the service, so that she can compare. When I go there, I can get the services. So, in general, the information, the communication is based on the continuum of care, and also it continues. For NC1, the message is different about the service that she may come there. And the dose of the intervention is also just based on this one. Just we applied at different times, different formations, sometimes repeated formations. For example, reminder is continuous for all. So the dose is determined based on the number of visits and the service that they will get. However, the important thing you raised is once the intervention impacted the knowledge, the cognitive aspect, why the affective aspect or the attitude not changed? That's a great question. Still we are asking. But as a recommendation, we have said that, even if I didn't present it for the matter of time, always we shouldn't expect that people, whether they know something, they may not practice. Like the social marketing, what the morning presented, social marketing and the theory of learning, deeply they conclude that if people are learning something and how to do that, they will do it. That's old aspect. So here we have to ask, there are many things that affect women not to give birth at its facility. Rather they have a knowledge, but they fear. Why? There is many social aspects. There are many things we have to ask and we have to work. Even this intervention doesn't bring. Why? Because of the social aspect is not addressed in our intervention, I think. And the other question is how necessary and did you consider the level of understanding or literacy? yeah, just if you understood the content, it's not as much complicated, not difficult. Just reminder, just short service information, and about the danger signs, bleeding, blood, cement, danger signs, በቀላሉ understand የሚያደርጓቸው and also the first preparedness ብጥሽ ሲመጣ በምን ታውቂያለሽ? ሲመጣብሽ ወደ ጤና ተቋም ስትመጪ ምን ይዘሽ ነው የምትመጪው? So that's a readiness and what to prepare before ahead of time. So it's simple, it's not a complicated one, it's not difficult to understand. But just to live with the last patient from the right path. How do you know the SMS date? Okay, it's not that one. The other question, the other participant asked it. Just to make it simple, the information was given for them by their preferred language. When they come for anyone, they prefer their own language. So that the message will be delivered by that language. So simply they can understand. That is how we manage the understandability of the message. And the other from Kotabe, how they are communicated, like the literacy level. For those able to read and write, we identified at the enrollment time, the SMS will apply. For those not able to read and write, always in terms of texting, we call for reminder or giving the information. So we treated both. And from Gabi, so I think access to phone and the generality of the finding. Yeah, in ethical clearance, the important question was this one. But finally, we have done that. One thing, the intervention is urban Jumatao. Consider this one, just almost more than 90% of the residents have an access to a cell phone. But still there are people who may not have cell phone. So that we consider that those mothers who have at least one cell phone per household, would be included. If no, and any phone, any mobile phone at home, if there is a phone from her best friend or from neighbor, they can get that information in a very close way. We included that. So fortunately, we didn't exclude any mother considering this, whether have or have not cell phone. And the generality of the finding, yes, we can generalize because the message is not complicated. It's based on their own language, so that we can still conclude that those mothers who have cell phone or who have an access to cell phone can be communicated and can be followed, so that we can decrease the dropout rate. We can increase the uptake. To come to health facility and to get the services. And the last concern is, how do you know the service delivered or not? Yes, one thing, the phone what we used shows whether the delivery status of the message, sent or not sent. That's from our side, from the focal person side, sent or not sent. But the question is, it says sent, but whether the mother read or not read that message is an important question. Sometimes for confirmation, we record in our templates that how many number of mothers respond when they receive the message or when they got a call. So I have presented in the meta section the communication activities, the response for the communication activities. So it is almost more than 90% of the SMS as well as the call were successfully delivered. But still, almost there are 6.4% of the SMS text is not delivered. Or we didn't get a confirmation, bad confirmation from the mothers. But still, this is an important question. Follow-up of the message or the SMS text, whether read by the recipient or not, is an important question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bata. I think team is good to see the Yaya Tunona. ከውጭ አንድ ገስት ስፒከር አለ እና 10 ደቂቃ ነው ያልከን አይደል? ነው
Yes, just 10 minutes.
10 ሚኒትስ እንሰማና እኛም 10 ደቂቃ ነው በሰዓታችን መሰረት የቀረን እና ደግሞ ምንድነው ኩዊክሊ እንግዶች ስለሆኑ እነሱ አንዴ ይገቡና በ10 ደቂቃ ካለቀ በኋላ ግን ማሪ ሪስፖንድ አድርጎ እኔ አንድ 3 ደቂቃ ውስጥ ኮንክሉድ አድርገን እንጨርሳለን። ስለዚህ 10 ሚኒትስ ነው።
Just 10 minutes.
10 ሚኒትስ ከተማ እዛ ጋር መቀመጥ ማክሲማል ማለት ይቻላል።
Ms. Palak, can you mute yourself? Can you hear us properly? Okay, welcome to this international conference. So you can proceed, please. You can share your screen and proceed.
Should I share my?
Yes, yes.
So I hope it is visible to you. I'm sharing.
Yeah, yes, it is coming. It is coming, Palak.
So should I start?
Yes, continue, please.
Okay, sir. So my topic is green accounting reporting and sustainable development. So I'm basically trying to combine these two topics. So let's start with the introduction. So green accounting is also known as environmental accounting. Into business decisions. So this is what green accounting or environmental accounting means, and it is calculated as national and corporate level as well. So for example, in value chain, it is not feasible to think only about the profit, but also protecting the environment so that they can move to the path of sustainability and environment protection. So if we talk about green accounting, Norway was the first country which adopted the green accounting application. So some of the issues that are related with green accounting, we can say that cost of environment protection is not identified in the SMA. SMA is the system of national accounts. In the system of national accounts, it defines net domestic product as consumption plus investment plus net export. So it does not account environment cost. This was the major issue that was with the SMA accounting. So there is no standard method of green accounting that is being followed worldwide. Different countries are following different types of technique in order to proceed to the green accounting. There was no standard method that could be followed worldwide. Issue that we come across. So cost involvement was there, lack of skilled manpower. Companies or organizations are not able to properly implement green accounting concept. And also there are low adoption of environment accounting throughout the world. From my study is to assess the relationship between green accounting and sustainable development. Second objective was to study the green accounting applicability at global level, like I tried to find out at what level green accounting is being followed worldwide. So third is to study green accounting practices in India, like in India, how green accounting is being followed. So methodology, I use secondary data sources, I use research article, newspaper, SDE report, global assessment 2020 report, etc. So this is basically a secondary study. Now comes why green accounting. Why are we focusing too much on this green accounting? So some of the importance, we can see that it tries to achieve sustainability. When we follow the path of green accounting, we can follow to the path of sustainability. So next is cost reduction, like it reduces cost associated with like raw materials, utilities, waste, etc. So this will lead to better use of natural resources. And also it makes a good factor, like if we obviously when we are trying to achieve something that will be beneficial for the society and the rest of the world, so it will automatically make us feel good. To address the issue of climate change. So it can be the foundation to make decisions related to climate change. So that's why we are moving and we are trying to find out what green accounting is and why it is important. So now comes the green accounting and sustainable development, how it is related with sustainable development. So it has actually a close relationship with sustainable development. Sustainable development means maintaining and use of natural resources without compromising the needs of future generation for better and more sustainable future, that we all know. But a complex form of environmental accounting is sustainability accounting, which measures organization performance towards sustainability and includes environment, economic and social objectives. So it becomes the three pillars of sustainability, that's environment, economic and social, and these three are interconnected. So with the adoption of green accounting, if companies or organizations are following the use of green accounting, they can follow part of sustainability. That's why it is closely and very much related with sustainable development. Next, I try to find out its practices in India, like at what level green accounting is being followed in India, international level. So it is in India, if we talk about it, is in preliminary stage. Just but it is in preliminary stage. Companies that are following green accounting includes BHEL, that is Bharat Heavy Electrical Limited, HPCL, it is Hindustan Petroleum Corporation Limited, RINL, or Rashtriya Ispat Nigam Limited. These are some of the examples of the companies that are following the path of green accounting. They are actually including in their financial accounts how much they are incurring, how much cost they are incurring for the environment, and how much benefits they are giving to the environment. So Green India State Trust is also another organization. It is a series of environmentally adjusted accounts under green accounting for Indian state projects. So India is also following this path. And Another preferred method is cost benefit analysis that is just following. That is, a company can actually analyze its cost and benefits, like how much cost they are incurring for the environment and how much benefit they bring to the environment in their companies or in their organization or within the industries. So the green GDP is also there. It is actually makes traditional GDP minus environmental cost. It actually subtracts resource depletion and environment degradation from the traditional GDP. One of the major drawbacks of traditional GDP that it does not include environmental cost. So green GDP is also another concept that is being followed in India. Next, when we go to at global level, my other objective was to see its global level applicability. So companies which I came across, Google, Microsoft, Pima, Apple, TCS, etc., they are actually implementing green accounting. SEE is a very famous term under this, that is System of Environment Economic Accounting. It actually focuses on depletion of scarce resources and measure the cost of environment degradation. It actually integrates environment and social dimension in book, which will follow the sustainable development path, just to better reflect the interaction between economy and the natural environment. So another aspect is green goodness curve, which is highly related to this area. That means countries' environment tends to degrade as country grows richer, and after some point, its quality improves. After some times, the environment quality improves. Firstly, it degrades, then improves. So this is also another path that globally is being followed, and companies and organizations are trying to improve the environment quality with time. Another thing that is being followed is Index of Sustainable Economic Welfare. It actually subtracts the cost of environment degradation and the depreciation of natural capital from consumption and expenditures accounts. So in the accounts, this is the index. This is index of consumption corrected for environmental damage. This is to demonstrate how well-being changes over time if sustainability standards imposed and effects of environment damage are accounted for. This is another thing that has been followed. Next is eco-domestic product. It also monetizes the loss of biodiversity and accounts for cost caused by climate change. That is eco-domestic product. So developed countries, including USA, UK, Japan, have recognized that the calculating energy consumption in the manufacturing and service sector. So they are also following the same path. Next is International Accounting Standard Board. It also has identified and recognized the measurement and energy conservation as green accounts. So all these things that these companies are following, they are actually going to recording in progress. Next, concrete findings of the is a need of formulating policies, regulations regarding green accounting at national as well as at international level. So future scope, we say what this is, corporate world, the corporate organization should turn their attention towards long-term sustainability of the environment. Also, there is a need of connection between the green data and the economic data for economic growth. So there needs to be a balanced connection between economic area and the green or sustainability environmental protection area. There needs to be a balance. There is a strong demand for environmental information. So knowledge plays a very important role. Individual knowledge and involvement in society are very important factors that play an important role. Because if people are not aware, if people in the corporate organization are not aware of the concept, aware of how to think, applicate it, so they will be more used to apply this. So important role and information needs to be there in every organization. So second one, standard method is important step in accounting because there is no standard method that is being followed worldwide. So there needs to be a standard method. There is a need for proper accounting which will create awareness and will change the resources pattern. Now, by concluding, I can say that the practice of green accounting has not been socially accepted by the society because while the company sometimes feels it's a burden on the profit of the firm rather than it being beneficial to the society, because they feel that why should we share our losses to the in the financial accounts? Why should we share that we are not doing something for the environment, or if they are harming the environment, that they does not feel good to share it with the in the profit account. So that's why they feel burden sometimes, which needs to be improved. And GDP ignores environmental factors, therefore to play an important role here. So policy makers needs to maintain and frame some policy framework that will lead to proper implementation of green accounting. Also, I would say that educational institutes should also develop policies to increase student awareness of environment protection, and that will lead to the path of sustainability, as the education, the youths are the future for all. So that's why this is very important. So by concluding this, that is all from my side. Thank you so much.
Dr. Palak, it's a wonderful presentation. We are delighted to have you. If any question is there, I will give a chance for the audience and we will raise a question.
Yes.
If you have questions, please, we can address. I can give one or two participants for the question. Yes.
Can I proceed? Okay, thank you very much. It is a very nice presentation. But I have just some issues to raise. Actually, I'm familiar with the topic speaking, and I do have one publication entitled Natural Resource Development and Sustainable Development Linked in Ethiopia. So I think the two variables, green accounting and just sustainable development, I think that's almost the same. There is no variable relationship. So in order to measure sustainable development, we can use the green GDP, simply green GDP or adjusted net national income, means it is a proxy that can be used for sustainable development. And I don't know how you are not just familiar with that, but that is already how the World Development Indicators work, and the World Bank is already using that figure as a measure for sustainable development. I also just employed that one. And it has, as you said, it is different from just GDP. GDP is a measure for economic growth. But as you say, adjusted net national income or the green GDP can be used as a proxy for sustainable development. And I don't know what new things that you wanted to just deliver in your just, I think it's review, in your review. That is my question. Thank you very much.
Dr. Palak, did you hear the question? So can you address it?
Yes, actually, can you repeat? Because I did not hear it from thinking of board. So if you can repeat it.
Louder.
Okay.
Simply.
Do you hear me now?
Can you hear him now? Now? Okay. Yeah, generally he was asking you that what is new? This is not a new concept that you brought to us. He's asking you what is new. It is not.
And two variables are the same.
The two variables are the same. That is what he's saying.
Okay, sir. He's trying to, you're trying to say that green accounting and sustainable development similar terms.
Exactly.
Sustainable development and green accounting is very different, but somehow related to each other. I have tried to make a relationship between that. Green accounting is basically it's an accounting statement. It is accounting statement. Companies actually give their accounts there in their data. Measures reporting integration of environmental cost into business decision. Whereas sustainable development is something that tries to achieve something for the betterment and future generation. Sustainable development has various indicators that there are like 19 indicators of sustainable development goals, but green accounting is somewhere different, and it is actually a statement of accounts. This is what green accounting that will be only followed by the organization organization and companies and industries, not the general people. Like I cannot do anything with the green accounting because I'm not running any organization or terms. So green accounting, that's why it is accounting. So it is actually the financial state. Why? And yes, what is new in this topic, why I did this study, because first of all, I raised the limit. I also talked about one limitation that it is not being followed worldwide. So there will be awareness. If we don't of this area of this topic, then how will the people know? So there needs to be awareness. People needs to know that green accounting is there, so that we can contribute to the environment. And by doing that, then they can follow the path of sustainability. Then they can achieve sustainability. So I think so. This is actually very different to each other, not same thing. So this is, I think, I can say on this. I hope my answer is.
Thank you very much, Dr. Palak Chauhan from India, Sholan University. We appreciate for your time. So thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you so much.
የቀረኝ አጭር ደቂቃ ስለሆነ ነው የቆረጥኩት። ዶክተር ሶል we can continue the discussion, then we'll come to the conclusion.
እኛም 10 ደቂቃ በላይ አንፈጅባችሁ ፕሮሚስ ያደረግነው 10 ደቂቃ ስለሆነ ሁለቱም ፕሬዘንተር ወደዚህ ይምጡ። ያቆምነው መሀሪ ይመልስ ሲል ነበር። መሀሪ ሪስፖንስ
Okay, thank you so much for forwarding your comments and questions. I try to sum up the questions in two questions. Yeah. So the first is just the concept, the age of visibility and recommending the age of the next margins. So here, it's true. The issue of visibility is concern, but what critical is to show how much the delay is there. I mean, the standard is just the patient should receive their diagnostic result within hours using the expert. But it's common to see range of delays, and we prefer to show the median time with the interquartile range in which these delays happen, why it happens. And then we recommend just the importance of using expert margins in reducing the delay as compared to the other diagnostic modalities. And by that, so it is just a visibility issue. It's limited even in our countries. It has been just transferred to the EPHI and ADHI early before the use of expert. And during that, even there was a 3 months delay in receiving the result. And by that, there was a continuous transmission of tuberculosis, advancement of the trade stance, the patient got to apply compromisation and others. So we prefer sitting crossing hands. Just we need to show the evidence breaks by showing how shorter the median time to receive the result and commence the treatment of patients using the expert margins. That is the first concern. And the second is just as two of my colleagues raised, just how can you generalize the factors, especially the treatment outcome, without just considering the other factors. It's true, a number of factors are known to affect the treatment outcome of India or the pediatric patients, including the immunology, genetic factors, and the clinical factors, very importantly, including the treatment they are taking and the drugs. I mean, the other baseline characteristics and nutritional factors, and even other comorbid conditions. Very important to show the treatment outcome that determinant. But our object was just to indicate whether there is a difference in terms of the time dimension in median time with respect to the diagnosis to treatment, from care seeking to treatment. Is there time difference or not? And we evaluate the non-parametric independent sample test, performance test, to show that. Is there difference or not? Is there ranking or not? In terms of the expert, education, and culture. That was the objective of our study, not to indicate the factors. And we do not fit an analytical study or model that controls the compounding and unobserved or latent variables that could determine the treatment outcome and others. Even we do not fit the factors for affecting the median time. Which factor could shorten or lengthen the median time from diagnosis to treatment commencement? We simply aim to observe, to show just the average time between diagnosis time and treatment start. Is there difference across the treatment modalities, the diagnosis modalities? So that was the major aim of our study. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mari. I think for interest of time, I better stop here, right? If there is no burning question, allow me to stop here. Okay, is that okay? You're not the time to learn. Okay, so a round of applause again for this young researcher, please. Brilliant, and I hope, please, you can go and sit. I'm hoping that you revisit the findings, and I hope that you consider the remarks and suggestions provided by your colleagues. Okay, you probably need to go and look at some of the things that have been raised for purpose of clarity. And then in the researcher, some things might be very clear to us, but we're not sure how we communicate it. So if there is if you see now from the question that has been raised in this podium, there probably would be an issue that you probably need to go back and look at whatever that you have written. If you have to do analysis, again, you probably need to reconsider that as well. So maybe some of the things might be overlooked by your advisors. Okay, ብዙ opportunity የሰጣችሁ ይመስለኛል, and we're hoping that this session is also helpful for you. Okay, in addition to disseminating your findings to this kind of forum, there's also an opportunity for you to revisit your findings. Having said that, I think important የሆኑ ሪማርኮች ላይ ከዚህ ሴሽን ዓላማ በስተጀርባ ያለውንም አንዳንድ ነገሮች አብዛኞቻችሁ እዚህ አካዳሚሻን ስለሆናችሁ ማንሳት እፈልጋለሁ። ይሄ እንግዲህ እንደዚህ አይነት ፋይንዲንግ ፖስተርም ላይ ያየናቸው አሉ። አንዳንዶቻችሁ ለወራት ፕሬዘንቴሽን መጥተዋል። ይሄ እንደዚህ አይነት ፎረሞች ለዲስሚኔሽን ኢምፖርታንት ናቸው ብለን እናስባለን። አይ ቲንክ አዲስ አበባ ሜዲካል ኮሌጅም ይሄን ያደረገበት ምክንያት ሳይንስ አንድ ሰው ጋር መቅረት የለበትም፣ ሌሎች ሳይንቲስቶች ሊሰሙት ይገባል። ይሄ ፋይንዲንግ ሌሎች ጋር ደርሶ አልቲሜትሊ ማምጣት ያለበትን ውጤት ማምጣት አለበት በሚል ነው። ግን እንግዲህ dissemination, this could be one of the platform for dissemination findings, scientific findings, but there could be also plenty of so you probably need to consider, peer-reviewed journal to disseminate your finding as well. So we're also recommending that you take this paper and submit it to for peer-reviewed journal for a wider dissemination and citation in the future. But doing that, the trend looks like that we prefer to send applications to, papers, quote unquote, called high impact journals. To use maximally from my finding, instead of high impact journal. I know it's so unfortunate. Abzanyo academia the tradition እየመጣ ያለው ነገር high impact journal መሆኑ ነው። ግን ይሄ ራሱ ሪቪዚትድ መሆን አለበት ብዬ አስባለሁ። የኛ ፋይንዲንግ ለኛ ህዝብ መሻሻል ለፕራክቲሱ ለፖሊሲ ኢምፕሩቭመንት ካልሆነ ትልልቅ ጆርናሎች ላይ ፐብሊሽ በማድረጋችን ለኢጎ ካልሆነ ዩስፉልነሱ በጣም ሊሚትድ ነው ብዬ አስባለሁ። ኢማጂን the moment that you send your publication to high impact journal ለብዙ ሰው አክሰሰብል አይሆንም። እዚህ ላለው because people have to pay. አይደለም አሁን ምንላቸው ትልልቅ ጆርናሎች አክሰስ የሚደረጉት በመክፈል ነው እና እኔ this is something that you probably need to go back and reconsider, have a discussion on a larger group, okay, in terms of when you think about publication. And reflect ማድረግ የፈለኩበት ፖይንት ይሄ ነው። ሁለተኛ I think እንደ ሪሰርቸር ሁላችንም we should be very watchful when we make recommendations. It requires that humility. You see, you can't have a very a small study, you know, very in terms of population, small not in a sense of small, but in a small population, and kind of try to make big recommendations, you know. But I'm ጥንቃቄ ይፈልጋል። አይታን ጥሩ ጆርናሎች ካያችሁ ነጮቹ ሪኮሜንዴሽናቸው አይታችሁ ከሆነ ብዙ ጊዜ ሰጀስት የሚያደርጉት further exploration ይፈልጋል፣ further study ይፈልጋል ነው እንጂ የሚሉት they're not trying to make a lot of recommendations። እኛ ሀገር ግን there is a tendency with one original paper we tend to make recommendations, like plenty of recommendations. That is, you know, በጣም ጥንቃቄ ይፈልጋል። It requires a lot of humility not to do that እና እንደውም በደንብ ያልተጠና ነገር ካለ ማሳየት የስተዲውን ሊሚቴሽን በደንብ እንዲወጣ ማድረግ ነው ያለብን በሪኮሜንዴሽን ጊዜ እንጂ this has to influence the policy, this has to make break change እያል የምናወራበት መሆን የለበትም እና ያ ጥንቃቄ ቢለመድ ኦቨርኦል ብዙ ቦታም ስለማይ ነው ፔፐሮች ሲቀርቡ። Ultimately, if we want our paper to make actual impact policy, change practices in healthcare or in business, what we need to do probably is, in Addis Ababa Medical College is that we need to do some systematic review. We need to do some meta-analysis. Our ብዙ ፔፐሮች ይወጣሉ ግን we fail to synthesize information. And original paper is not going to make any policy change. I think አይታችሁ ታውቃላችሁ የአንድ ሰው የማስተርስ ፔፐር policy law. The intention behind doing an original a PhD thesis ultimately is to improve practice, ultimately to change policy. But that's not happening. And if you ask yourself why that's not happening, because it's just a single paper. And we don't have to expect to make change like as big as policy with a single paper. So what we need to do is probably do a bit of systematization. You know, take a lot of papers and the team like and synthesize information. Do systematic review, do meta-analysis. And that's how medical college master alpha we can be pioneers on this. አሁን የወጡ ፔፐሮችን ሲሚናሪ እየሰበሰብን ብዙ systematic review, meta-analysis እየሰራን we send it to policy makers. እንደዚህ አይነት ነገር ሰርታችሁ ሚኒስትሪ ብታመጡ we're very much delighted ይሄን ለማድረግ። I think business economics ላይ የሚሰሩ ፔፐሮች ይሄን አንድ አይነት ፎርማት ናቸው ብዬ አስባለሁ። በአንድ ፔፐር ፖሊሲ መቀየር ስለማንችልና ይሄን አዲስ አበባ ሜዲካል ኮሌጅ ፓዮኒር ቢሆን ሁሌ ይወራል። You know, research ultimately has to make, you know, policy changes, has to influence practice እንላለን። ግን underground መንግስትም ፖሊሲ መቀየር ከፈለገ ሌላ ጥናት ያሰራል እንጂ አካዳሚክስ ውስጥ ያሉ ፔፐሮች ተሰብስበው ለፖሊሲ ለውጥ ብዙ አናይ። በእናንተ እንግዲህ I've been practicing medicine for the past 20 years and I've been in the health system for the last 2 decades. I haven't seen the ministry actually taking papers and do academic papers to make policy changes. It's not happening. And it's the same in business and the same in economics. You know? I'm encouraging you, if that is we're aiming at, and they need to do something different. And አሁን በምንሄድበት መልክ ፖሊሲ ኢንፍሉዌንስ ማድረጋችንን ፕራክቲስ ማምጣታችንን ኢማጂን ጠዋት ሲቀርብ የነበረው you've invested a lot, close to $1 million ወጥቷል ለዚህ ሴሽን ተብሏል። This shouldn't have to go away for just nothing. This investment has worth it. And then what የሚለው ለኔ ኢምፖርታንት ጥያቄ ነው እና I think ልናስብበት ይገባል። አካዳሚክስ ውስጥም ያለን ሰዎች ከሪሰርች ሲባል አብዛኛው ፔፐር ሼልፍ ላይ የቀረው it's so unfortunate። ብዙ የማስተርስ ፔፐሮች ለምረቃ ቆመዋል። ልጆቹ ጊዜ አጥፍተውባቸው እናንተ አድቫይዝ ያደረጋችሁ ፔፐር በየቦታው እንዲሁ ተሰቅሎ ነው ያለው። ልጆቹንም ግሩፕ ስተዲ አስተምሯቸው አንድ ስተዲ በአንድ ቲም ላይ 5-6 ኦብጀክቲቭ አድርገን አንድ ኦብጀክቲቭ አውጥተን ትልቅ ፔፐሮች ግን መጨረሻ ላይ ትልቅ ነገር ለውጥ ሊያመጡ የሚችሉ ፔፐሮች መሆን አለባቸው የሚል እምነት አለኝና ሁሌ we don't have to do research just for the sake of research. It shouldn't have to be an academic exercise. It should truly worth our and energy. That's my last remark, and I'm hoping Addis Ababa Medical College would reconsider this when it comes to, you know, research and dissemination. Okay? I thank you so much for listening, and I would like to thank again all the presenters. I'd like to thank all the participants here for showing this passion coming out here and make comments and suggestions and to improve business and health in this country. And thank you so much again.
I think this is not enough for Dr. Solomon. He has given us a lot. So, Dr. Solomon is one of the only potential individuals that started his career from Jimma University, now became a senior advisor of the Ministry of Health. So you can communicate him later. So thank you very much, Dr. Solomon. Now I would like to call Dr. Shadeq Ibrahim, a PhD in Public Health Management, from the Addis Ababa Medical and Business College Online Learning Coordinator, for the closing remark, for the summary of the entire program since the beginning today morning by 9 o'clock. So the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. You can see there are two rapporteurs here, but I am delegating. Thank you, Dr. Henok, for delegating. Government and non-governmental organizations have participated in the conference, and scholars, fellows, researchers from various universities have also participated. Just to be more specific on which university has participated, and how many papers have been delivered. You can see that 10 posters out in the lobby were presented, and 7 oral presentations, and 1 virtual presentation, as you have seen, from India. And the universities who have participated in this conference are Jimma University, Hawassa University, Arba Minch University, Gondar University, Bahar Dar University, Gambella University, Kotabe Metropolitan University, Jimma University, Mattu University, Madola University, Walkita University, Wallagga University, and Asosa University, and from ABC also participated, and from Sholini University from India was also presentation. This conference was started by the welcoming speech of the CEO, Mr. Habtamu Gabisa of Addis Ababa Medical and Business College. In his speech, he has indicated the mission and vision of the college. He has also indicated the objective of the conference, as you have heard. The next speaker was Dr. Demoz Admasu, Vice President of Kotabe Metropolitan University, who have shared with us very excellent thoughts. He have shared his experience, talked on the dynamic of higher learning institutions these days, and he has raised about the challenges and opportunities of higher learning institutions these days, and he has shared with us about the challenges such as global competitiveness. He has also said about quality of education. He has talked about the brain drain that could be an advantage for private institutions to take this as an opportunity. There was also a challenge as a political interference and access, and these are few of the points that were raised by Dr. Demoz. He has raised other important issues or opportunities, and these are private higher learning institutions can have the chance of recruiting best and brightest minds as education is booming, and has to have also professional leadership, best teachers and researchers, and also ensure autonomy, which he has said that in research, not controlling but steering. And they have also indicated that public-private partnership is very important in private higher learning institutions. He has also raised the importance of designing the need-based programs, need of students, need of families, and need of industries, as you have heard. He has also raised the industry orientation, leadership development center, and so on. These are the few points that Dr. Ademasu shared with us. Now I will just remind you the papers presented and the papers which were displayed in the posters down in the lobby room. And I don't want to read and take your time all the titles of the research, but remind the names of who have presented the papers. The first paper was presented, or our presentation this morning was by Mulugeta from Redao University, and the second on economic impact of COVID-19 by Bullo, and the third presentation this morning was by Abraham, Dr. Abraham. The other presentation on political marketing was by Nuai Ymer. And there was posters in the morning which was displayed down in the lobby, and these were by Alamu, Madolaw University, and also by Bahan D, Gambela University, and the other was by Henok from Kotobe Metropolitan University, and the other was by Worko, Jima University, and Dr. Agudo. These were papers on business presented or on posters down as we visited in the lobby room. And the oral presentation in the afternoon was basically on health, and these were presented by Abraham, Jima University, Gabiso, Nat University, Mahari from Gondar University, and Welt Al Jima University. And these were the papers presented orally here. And as you have seen or visited down in the lobby, there were posters presented on health by Adana from Dilla University, Brahanu Fadleka, and Zaudu, Kotobe Metropolitan University, Samuel Walkita University, and Tadessa Wallaka University. And there were question and answer sessions. These were moderated by senior professionals, Dr. Salomon Orku, senior advisor to the Ministry of Health, Dr. Barakat Salomon from Ethiopian Civil Service University, senior researcher. And I have no idea to visit, to repeat what Dr. Salomon has already summarized on what to do on papers and what to do with the questions and responses presented in the floor, and therefore he has already summarized in a very good manner, and that is going to be my summary also. In our discussion, there were points of the way forward. If you remember, we were talking about ensuring quality of education, which was raised by Dr. Damol, and we're also talking about making use of brain exchange and building and strengthening of efficient and effective systems in higher learning education institutions, and also play a role in terms of influencing policy and practice, which has been repeated by Dr. Solomon just before minutes. And there were also a way forward on the need-based programs, as we've read earlier. Finally, the conference was, I would say, was very excellent, and this would have not been, successful without the effort of the leadership of Addis Ababa Medical and Business College and the Research and Community Department, and the president of the college is here, Dr. Balaina, and the Research and Community Service Department Director and his colleagues, thanks to their effort, and the organizers in general, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Shet, for your nice summary and nice presentation. We met to make this research መጨረሻ ማጠቃለያ እናደርግና የተወሰኑ ሀሳቦችን እንለዋወጥ። How was the conference? So, ይህ ኮንቲኒቲ ያለው ፕሮግራም ስለሆነ ኤቭሪ ይር የማዘጋጀት እቅድ አለ። እንደ ኮሌጅ ተቋሙን ወደ ትልቅ ዩኒቨርሲቲ የማሳደግ ራዕይ አለ። የተለያዩ ቦታ ቢልዲንጎች የተሰሩ ነው። ብራንቾች የተለያዩ ቦታ 5 ብራንቾች አሉ። እነሱን የማስፋት እቅድ አለ። ስለዚህ ሴንተር ኦፍ ኤክሰለንስ የመሆን ነገር ስላለ እንደዚህ አይነት ትልቅ ኢንቨስትመንት ያለ ፕሮግራሞች ይከናወናሉ። So what's your forward for the college to strengthen this kind of conference? We need some points or suggestions, questions. Anyway, you can forward us. The Lord ለማድረግ ይጠቅመናል። As you are a researcher, የእናንተ ባክ ስለሚፈለግ ማለት ነው። የተወሰኑ አንድ ሁለት ነጥቦችን ዶክተር ሰለሞን አንድ፣ ዶክተር በረከት አንድ ሰው ጨምር፣ አብርሃም እሺ፣ የሶስታችን ዶክተር ሰለሞን ኮሚኒቲዎች ነው የሚያጠነክሩት፣ ድጋፎች ብዙ አያጠነክሩም። ስለዚህ በሚቀጥለው እያሰፋ ነው በደንብ እያጠነከረ ነው ሌላ ቴንክ ዩ ዶክተር በረከት
አመሰግናለሁ። በጣም ጥሩ ምስጋና አቀርባለሁ እና ዶክተር ሰለሞን ያነሳውን ይራራሉ እንደው ቢቻል ላለው እና ማለት ቀደም ባለ ዶክተር ደግሞ ጥሩ አድርጎ አቅርቧል። ኦቨሮል ጀነራል የሆነ ነገር ግን አንዳንድ ጊዜ እንደዚህ በጣም ወል ነው የሚሆነው እንደ ሞቲቬሽን ተጋብቶ ልክ እንደ መጀመሪያ ይታያል። ቀደም ሲል እንደ ኤክስፔሪንስ የሆኑ ኮንፈረንሶች የተለያዩ እንደዛ ነገር ቢደረግ የበለጠ ጣፋጭ ይሆናል የሚል ሀሳብ አለኝ። ሌላው ደግሞ ምናምን በጣም ሪገረስ በሆነ መልኩ ሴሌክት ተደርጎ በጣም አውትስታንዲንግ የሆኑ ፔፐሮች እንዲቀርቡ እንደተደረገ አውቃለሁ እና ከመጀመሪያ ጀምሮ ሰሚት ተደርጎ እንዴት አድርጎ እየተደረገ እንደደረሰ መረጃ አለኝ። አሁን በቀጣይ ምናልባት ትንሽ እንትኑን ስኮፕ ሰፋ ለማድረግ የሚቻል ወደፊት ቢኒያም ሀሳቡን ወስደህ ኮሚኒኬት ታደርጋለህ የሚል እምነት አለኝ። እንትኑ ትንሽ ይሰፋል። አሁን አጠራችና ተጨናነቅና አንደኛ ወረቀቶችን ጨምረን ነያችን የሁለት ቀን ወይ የሶስት ቀን ኮንፈረንስ ተደርጎ ዶክተር ሰለሞን ያነሳውን ፓኔል ዲስከሽን በማድረግ ትንሽ ኮንፈረንስ ቢሆን የበለጠ ይጠቅማል። ለሶስት ቀን የሆነ አሳይመንት አደራ ለማለት ነው እና በጣም ሰክሰስፉል እና በጣም ፋሲሊቲ ነው። ታንክ ዩ ቬሪ ማች
ቴንኪው ዶክተር በረከት በጣም ጥሩ ሀሳቦች ናቸው የቀረቡት። እኛም ሀሳባችን ወደዛው ነው። የመጀመሪያው ኢንተርናሽናል ኮንፈረንስ ሁለተኛው እጅግ በጣም የተሻለ ነው። ሶስተኛው ደግሞ which is more better ብለን ነው የምናስበው። እነዚህ ነገሮች ኢንክሉድ እናደርጋለን። በመጀመሪያ